Frozen to the bone, there's darkness in your soul.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a quick episode of Trek Cat. Well, maybe not quick, it's going to be a normal episode, but I wanted to do this video based on what I want from a new sequel of Deep Space Nine. Now, I know there's going to be people who be like, "What? You heard anything?" Yeah, I've heard a lot of things. Heard a lot of rumors. I've heard a lot of conspiracies. I've heard a lot of, black magic voodoo, underground stuff about there being a sequel to Deep Space Nine. Now the thing is that you start to see a lot of these Space Nine footprints in the new Star Trek shows. So hopefully they'll lay the groundwork for bringing this great and beloved series back, which I believe arguably is one of the best series, or if not the best series of Star Trek that's ever been made. Now let's go ahead and a little bit into what I would like to see from a new Deep Space Nine series. Now, of course, I would love the series to pick up at least chronologically uh, after the sequence, the events of the normal original Deep Space Nine. Excuse my stuttering, but so to be 20 something odd years later, Jake would be grown. His little brother would be grown. Wow, I spent that much time. His little brother would be grown. So let's talk a little bit about what I think, based on canon, this show would look like. What elements it should have, based on old canon, where we left off on Deep Space Nine, the series itself, and the world that they were building and the mythology that they were building, and see if we could tie it into the new Star Trek and see if a new Deep Space Nine show would be something, if it would be something viable. So everybody remembers how Deep Space Nine originally ended, with Captain Benjamin Sisko, or the emissary, being accepted into the Celestial Temple with the prophets. So let's talk about how each character would play a new part in this new world. So let's set the stage about what I believe the environment, or the theater, all right, or the area should look like at the moment. Cardassia is still messed up. They're trying to get their people back together. They're still trying to get their government back together. And Garrick is one of the people that's instrumental in doing this. All right. He took over from Lega Damar, who is now considered a martyr. All right. Dukat is pretty much being erased from the annals of Cardassian history, and is pretty much only spoken of as a cautionary tale of what not to do, the perfect traitor to your people. All right, now, so that's what's going on as far as that. Bajor still has not joined the Federation because the emissary hasn't given them their word still. All right, he recommended that they stay independent of the Federation, and this is something that they continue to do. As far as Bajor itself, all right, they've gotten pretty strong during the after the Dominion War. They've made a pretty good name for themselves in the Gamma Quadrant because of them being so close to the wormhole, and the D Space Nine station being ran by them. A lot of the commerce and a lot of the economy, a lot of the trade, a lot of negotiations and everything like that takes place either on D Space Nine or near or on Bajor. So they've become a pretty powerful player in the Alpha Quadrant now, and in the Gamma Quadrant. So as a result of this, though, you still have factions that are in Bajor that really still don't like the Cardassians, what they did through the occupation and everything like that. Now, the thing is that I've always talked about how Deep Space Nine and Star Trek as a whole shines a social mirror to not just our technology, but our social constructs and shortcomings as well. Now, this would be a great time to go into a little bit again of Earth history. And what do I mean by that? Now, we do know that people like the hand circle, stuff like that. These are factions of the Bajorans who felt that the occupation of Cardassia was not only wrong, but it was brutal, okay? And how the Cardassians handled that occupation. So now that Cardassia is extremely weakened, and they're kind of known as the pariah of the Alpha Quadrant because of them aligning with the Dominion. A lot of the factions, a lot of the people on Bajor feel that this would be a great opportunity to basically subjugate them and basically hold them accountable for the things that happened during the occupation. And this could be set up something similar to how after the Holocaust, and I really hope that I don't get into ignorant territory here, and if I do, please excuse me. But this could get into the events of after the Holocaust, how there were factions of the Jewish community who went after these Nazi war criminals and actually set up plans to basically eliminate millions of prior Nazi service people, and I believe it was they were called the Nakam or something like that. Memory. I'm kind of, but I believe it was called the Nakam. Something similar could happen with how the Bajorans are now starting to treat their Cardassians, and this is the thing, right? Um, a lot of people say that might feel that that would be a little bit too much to go into, but you have to remember that D Space Nine is a mature Star Trek. It used to handle those particular aspects like racism and segregation and all those types of things um, really poignantly and effectively. So I don't believe that they would stray away from the prospects of this any differently and handle it in the style that they have known to be handling these things in. But that could be something that's going on as far as the relationship between the Cardassians and the Bajorans. Now, Starfleet really wouldn't get into it. They would they would try to send ambassadors and everything like that, but excuse me, I don't think that based on the Prime Directive that this would be something that they would directly interfere with in this conflict between Bajor and Cardassian. You also have to remember that there were sympathizers, a lot of the sympathizers in Starfleet and in the Federation that sympathized for the Bajors, hence the Marquis. So let's talk about the Marquis. We do know that the Marquis were eliminated. All of the Alpha Quadrant Marquis were eliminated by the Jem'Hadar. Now, we do know, though, that we have quite a few Marquis leftovers that came back to the Alpha Quadrant through the way of Voyager. All right, so you got your Chakotay, your Balanas, stuff like that. Now, we know that the Marquis was a tight knit group. All right, and those issues with the Cardassians that the Marquis had wouldn't change because of their dealings in the Delta Quadrant. When they get back and they get back and not only start cleaning up the remnants of the friends that they had in these resistance cells and in these Marquis cells, they may restart the Marquis with the goal of actually terrorizing a weakened Cardassia. You know what I mean? So it's a lot that they can go into as far as that relationship goes. Now let's go into the climate of the characters themselves. Now I've already talked about Garrick. All right, I think Garrick would be awesome trying to as a person trying to rebuild Cardassia. I think that would be a great continuation of his arc, especially being a person who served Cardassia the way he did, got exiled the way he did, still feeling for the Cardassian people as he did, and still wanting to stay loyal to Cardassia. So having him go back to try to rebuild that would be a great continuation of his character and give a lot of more aspects of how Garrick would go about doing something like that. Now let's go into Kira. The last we left off, Colonel Kira was running D Space Nine, and this could be something that they continue to do. All right, D Space Nine is not only a hub for a library of things that happened, a museum of things that happened during the Dominion War and all of that, but like I said, a very central hub for commerce and trade and everything like that. Even more so now that the Dominion is we'll say way in the background, but we'll get on them more in a minute. So let's talk about now. The thing about Kira is that I would like to see Kira doing something like, well, I'll get into that. So let's talk about any Julian Bashir. Julian Bashir, because of the new series Section 31 that they're supposed to have in works, which they've been having in works for the last few years, which I'm actually looking forward to. It was one of the Star Trek shows I would have loved to seen get made so we could get an in-depth view of that side of the Federation. But anyway, Dr. Julian Bashir, at this time, now he's either part of Section 31 or the head of Section 31. So he's more like a Sloan type of individual. Now, of course, Chief O'Brien, he was on Earth teaching in Starfleet, and they end up bringing him back to Deep Space Nine. I would love to see that happen, and here's why. I would love to see a change in dynamic between Julian Bashir and Chief O'Brien, and this is what I mean by that. They're very, very good friends. Okay, I want to see that dynamic stay, but I want to see that dynamic challenged for the simple fact that O'Brien doesn't appreciate or doesn't respect the fact that Bashir is now head over heels for Section 31 when he and Bashir was always trying to expose them. So I would like to see I wouldn't say a conflict, but I would like to see a type of, I guess, a conflict between Julian Bashir and the things that he has to do for Section 31 and Chief O'Brien trying to get him out of Section 31, or vice versa, try to get Chief O'Brien into Section 31. But I would like to see how they play on that dynamic now that they are on diametrically opposing ideologies, as far as one seeing the benefit of Section 31 and the other seeing the benefit of Starfleet. All right. So I would like to see that. As far as Nog goes, man, we'll have to touch on Nog. Maybe name a starship after him. Mention him. He's gonna still have to be a presence in Deep Space Nine. Maybe we could have a relative or something like that, but we still have to have a Ferengi presence. Besides Quark, as we know from what was it, Lord Dex? He's running basically a franchise of Quarks on Deep Space Nine. I am totally fine with that. We still have to have Morn make visits, okay? Um, Quark always brought a sense of humor to the show, a sense of levity and smile to the show, and they've always expanded upon the Ferengi culture and canon in Star Trek Deep Space Nine like no other. So, looking forward to that. As far as Dax goes, I don't want to see Dax being a permanent character in the show. I would like to see Dax make appearances every now and then. Okay, maybe as a confidant or an advisor or a friend every now and then to Kira. All right, why don't I want to see that? Because I think it'd be too easy for a character like Dax to be the crutch or the anchor or the focus of the show. All right. Um, I would like to see Dax, uh, just every now and then come and grace us with her or his presence, whichever person they decide to put in there. But as far as a regular character, no. Now, I would love to see them have a new character, introduce a new character, and I would love, love, love for that character to be Romulan. Now, I would like for that character to be not only Romulan, but high up on the in the rank structure of the station. So either a first officer or a second officer, maybe a chief operations officer or a science officer, something that would give them the ability or the situational happenstance to where they could find those files that Captain Cisco thought he deleted from In the Pale Moonlight. Why do I want that to happen? Because as a Romulan, they may have a certain sense of arrogance about why they came into the war, the fact they came into the war and turned the tables. The Alpha Quadrant wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for them. You know how Romulans think. But it would be interesting for that officer to learn the truth as to why the Romulans were placed into the war, and while the Romulans and the actual truth behind why all those millions of Romulans died and all of those ships were destroyed. on the Romulan side. I would love to see that dynamic play out and in the new episode of Star Trek, because we do know that Captain Cisco deleted that file. However, we also know that there is no true deleting of Star Trek files and records in Star Trek. It can be recovered. And one of the things that could support that in canon, right, is when Chief O'Brien and who was it, Jake Sisko, were reprogramming the computer and eliminating files, and they came across some files they thought were deleted. Come to find out, it put the whole station on lockdown. All right, they were running across many of those on the Cardassian station. So it would be interesting to see that dynamic pick up and cause a growing rift between Starfleet and the Romulan Star Empire. All right, so and also that was just a great episode and it would be a great episode to revisit. All right, now as far as Cassidy Yates is, you know, she's basically going through being the martyr of the emissary. I mean, or the widow of the emissary, and all of the things that come with that. She has factions on Bajor that's basically worshiping her, and you also have a very few factions on Bajor who still, for some reason, like the power wraiths. So there goes a little bit of drama as far as how they're abrasive to her and everything like that. Now, let's talk about um let's talk about the elephant in the room. Captain Benjamin Sisko. What's he supposed to be up to? So, in the comic books, which are now canon, the prophets release Cisco from the Celestial. Well, not release him. They ask for his help in dealing with an entity that's supposed to be killing godlike beings in the Star Trek universe. I don't think that they should go that route. All right.
There's nothing on the calendar for the rest of the day.
Thank you. All right. So I don't think that they should go that route. I think that they should keep him mostly grounded, but explore how he has to go back into training his brain and realizations for existing in a linear reality. Okay, because being with the prophets, he's used to their form of reality, non-linear. Okay, so it's going to be him getting back into thinking and behaving and seeing things in a linear fashion, trying to stop the Bajoran people from turning dark and becoming like the Cardassians, because there is a history between Cardassia and Bajor that goes back thousands of years, to whereas I believe that they come from one species, that they come from one people, all right? Now, or a very related people, okay? So I want to see how Cisco tries to guide Bajor from becoming dark, from opening up that path to whereas they start to go into the ways of the power wraith, of evil, of darkness, all right, especially starting with the Cardassian people. All right, so this was just a little short video that I wanted to put together about some of the thoughts that I wanted to see in a new Star Trek DS9 sequel. There was a lot more that I wanted to cover, but y'all know how I am, man. Brother just be trying to do my little bootleg videos, put them together, man, put them out here for you guys to take a look at and get you guys' opinion about my thoughts. And I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Y'all need to start putting some stuff in the comments, man. I know I can't be giving information so well that people can't even comment on it. I'm saying, he knows what he's talking about. I have nothing to say to that. Nah, man, come on. Let's talk, man. Trekkies. So, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And as always, peace, recycle, and say the wells. You guys be cool.